I think yesterday we have a great event already with great speakers and all with the same aim. We would like to improve access to new medicines, new therapies in Europe. And yesterday also it was very nice to see that all stakeholders have own views and interests, but still we all want to look and find a solution for finding the balance between these issues. It was about balancing involvement of experts, clinicians, of the patients, society, uncertainty, how to deal with the single-arm trials, how to deal with uncertainty in the evidence. We will facing lots more evidence the coming time. Because I know there are more than 200 new medicines in the horizon can come for the next 2 years. More than 200, can you imagine? And we have to decide how we can improve access to all these when they have added value. Because that's also important, of course. There was also, I think, a nice presentation of Liesbeth de Vries about the clinical benefit and how we can intervene also with HCA in effectiveness, because it's another score, another skill. But we have to deal with that because the skill is very important for patients and clinicians. And I think there was also a nice presentation, a nice dinner speech yesterday as well about unmet needs, because also how do you define that? But today we have this agenda. Just this my welcome. I will give a brief presentation about activities at Erasmus. Maybe some overlap with yesterday because Maureen also told you already a bit, but I don't know whether you still remember, but it's always good to have something twice. Then we have a presentation about the perspective of the EU HCR by Michael Ermisch. Then we have the breakout sessions, and I think I expect a lot because we already discussed it in a pre-conference meeting yesterday, and there was already a lot of discussion, so hopefully it will be the same also in your working groups. And then we have the breakout sessions. Sorry, I was looking here and it just was different. And then we come back and we'll discuss it, and then this will ending in a discussion. And I hope to end somewhere at 12:30. The coffee break will be in between. So during the discussion, you're also allowed to drink some coffee. So now I will tell you a bit about our research, a bit more about an Horizon Europe project we are involved in. And I just start with IMTA, because I think many of you know IMTA, the Institute for Medical Technology Assessment. And maybe it's good to know, but I'm director of Institute for Medical Technology Assessment, together also with Maureen, and we have also an assistant director. We do a lot of research, and we'll present you some highlights as well. But we also collaborate within ESHPM, and ESHPM is the Erasmus Center for Health Economics Rotterdam, and that's all the departments involved in health economics are just collaborate here. And that's not only the Erasmus School of Health Policy and Management, but also the Erasmus School of Economics, but they do a lot of research in health economics as well. Further, maybe it's nice to mention that we also have a lot of experience in forming reference studies, and that's also a collaboration of the faculties, but also together with Erasmus Medical Center. And the Erasmus Choice Modeling Center also have been established a couple of years ago. I think yesterday we heard already a bit about master programs. We have 2 master programs, Health Economics and Health Economics Policy and Law, but also a European master program. And that's a collaboration with Bologna, Oslo, and Innsbruck. So those we are still willing to know more, just you can maybe participate in one of our programs as well. Here you see some facts and figures. IMTA was founded in 1988, so we have 35 years already of experience. In the moment, we have 40-50 scientific researchers. Yes, they are mostly part of the department of HCA, but also we collaborate and hire persons also from other departments. More than 200 projects has been performed in these years. And it's also nice to know that it's not only focusing on the main diseases like cancer or cardiovascular disease or COPD asthma, but also for rare diseases and MS, we develop models and so on. More than 1,600 scientific publications, of which about 60, I think, was about policy and reimbursement and access. So also in this for this group. I think that's interesting to know. And we also have an online health economics outcome research course that also have already attracted a lot of participants as well. Here on the right side, you see some of our clients. It's not only pharmaceutical companies, it's just a number of them. It wasn't possible to put all of them here, but we also collaborate with government. For example, the Dutch government. Maybe this makes sense for here because we are staying here in the Netherlands. But also we do studies for the Swiss government and also Canada. We just have developed a model for multiple myeloma, a disease model for them as well. So further, lots of Horizon projects, project for the European Commission, and I will tell you something there about later on. The topics are quite broad. As you know, we're talking about HTA, and HTA is not only about cost effectiveness, but it also has to do with early HTA, just earlier in the development. Can you already say something about cost effectiveness? Or late phase studies, more in the post-marketing period? What can we do with real world evidence, and how can we use patient records, data from patient records, and how to also analyze them? And that kind of challenges we are facing with, and that we like that to do. But also other outcomes beyond QALYs, multi-criteria decision analysis, our preference studies, developing the DCEs, for example. That's the work we also like to do and collaborate with you. And that's also, you see, we already developed a number of questionnaires that is very relevant to use in studies. In the Netherlands, we have the society perspective, so we are a bit obliged to use these kind of questionnaires to calculate production costs or evaluation for the informal care. We've also developed a medical consumption questionnaire, and also some questions more specific for mental care, because there are other challenges as well, I can tell you. But also there are very relevant tools. For example, disease burden calculator. And why is that relevant? Because we all talk for the Netherlands, willingness to pay of 80,000. And 80,000 is a willingness to pay. It's quite common, but it's only applied for the high severity, disease of high severity. So in most cancers, end of life, okay, it's 80,000. But what we now see, it's just going to the more neoadjuvant settings, so early stages of cancer. And then if you apply this calculator, the threshold will be 50,000. So it's also good to know, also for companies, that it's not always 80,000 in the Netherlands as well. Also other tools are, for example, calculating the paid, a costing tool, and also a tool just for calculating informal care. And if you are in need of such questionnaires, just come to us, and we're always willing to help. But now about the project I'm very like to tell you about, and I'm principal investigator of this project, Ascertain. And Ascertain stands for affordability and sustainability improvement through new pricing, cost effectiveness, and reimbursement models to appraise innovative health technologies. It's not only the word ascertain that's important, but also the other meanings of ascertain. Because ascertain also means to discover, to determine, or to learn. And it's meant to find out what one didn't know previously. And discover may also apply to something requiring exploration or investigation. And you think, oh, we have new technologies, we know what it costs. What's new? But you have to think that the budget, the health budgets are not limited. So we have to make choices. That are the challenges we are facing also in getting access. And that's also we are having, we are studying here. And the main policy goals in healthcare are, of course, sustainability. We want to have a bit of an operational use of our medicines and technologies. Equity, we would like that all patients have a right to health, but all patients across Europe have the same access, so that there are no systematic disparities between countries. And also we would like to have the best quality of care, person-centered, safe, evidence-based, and so on. And the main goal is to ensure affordable and equitable access to all patients to effective therapies in a sustainable manner. That's quite clear, but it's not that easy, as we know. Why do we need projects like Ascertain? And that's what you see here. This is a myeloma access atlas developed by a myeloma patient Europe. Many of you maybe know already about, but here you see exactly the inequalities for medicines, for two medicines in multiple myeloma. And on the green part, in general, no problems. Maybe the access is sometimes not at the same time, just immediately after email registration, but in the end, there's access. Especially also for the gray parts, you have no access, no reimbursement. And you see at Nilara, at the right part, there are lots of other colors as well. So there will be no reimbursements or the delay, but you see it's not everywhere green. Well, there are medicines with very added value. So we have to change something about this situation. And also looking at the time from email registration, market authorization, and first access, you also see a lot of difference between European countries. This is a study focusing on 12 oncological drugs. It has been published a couple of years ago in Cancers. And 12 drugs with ESHPM clinical benefit scores 4 and 5. So it are drugs that have real added value and should be accessible in all countries. That was also one of the aims of developing this clinical benefit score. Of course, we know Germany, no problem in general. Maybe it's not changing, but quite fast access after email approval. But like countries, especially also in Eastern European countries, they don't have access. In Estonia, 4 out of the 12 only are available in these countries. And from the 4 drugs, it needs a bit 3 years before patients got access. So we have to change something, as we are talking about Europe as a whole, as a unit. And there's where Ascertain comes into play. We have a website, and it's called access2meds.eu, and it's not called the Ascertain website, because we would like after project that also other projects and other models could be there put on this website, so that still exists at the end of our project. And Ascertain is a project, it started at the end of 2022, and it's 5 million, and we collaborate with 9 partners all over Europe. And yeah, we are focusing on innovative health technologies, and we have 3 use cases. One is personalized medicine, our CAR T cells, and the third is a diagnostic test, and we chose for next generation sequencing, so very relevant for in the future. And our main aim is to improve affordability, access, and sustainability. And just I would like to focus on the CAR Ts, CARs. Let's start with a thought experiment. If you've saved money and you would like to buy a car, the car of your dreams, actually, and it's the first ever plug-in hybrid Ferrari, it costs about 310 euros. It's a one-time investment, so okay, just 310,000 euros, but you have to pay upfront, and you don't know whether you need another car or not. And before buying, you would like to know whether this car is safe and what's the quality and so on. What are the features of this car? So you asked and you do some research. And there are of course possibilities. One of the problems was that we are living in a greener environment, so hybrid cars are very attractive. So it was a bit put early on the market than maybe anticipated. So it was a bit hasty. So there were problems that type 1 false positive, that's false positive car. So if you buy that car, there is an option that there will be a recall for no reason. So that you are somewhere and that your car have to be towed away because we don't know and we don't want to take the risk. But there's also another option, of course, the type 2, the false negative. You're driving the car and still somewhere on the road, smoke and fire and so on. So there was a real safety issue that they didn't anticipate. So you have to balance and find what are you gonna do. So I think that you go to the car dealer and ask him for more information. The dealer told you, and it's true, it was a bit hasty and we don't know exactly what it is. But I can tell you after 6 months, if you survive 6 months with the car, there will be no problems again. And this is the case much often, of course, and what are you gonna do? And this also holds for CAR T-cell therapies. CAR T-cells is not only taking a pill or something, it's a process of just collecting cells of a patient, and there's a whole procedure in the lab, and then there's a reinfusion, but many things can go wrong as well. And there are some other similarities. Well, it also costs 320,000 euros. It's also a one-time investment, and you have to pay upfront. And at the beginning, the pharmaceutical companies told me, no, we don't need other cars. But we now noticed that there are new treatments as well. After one CAR T failing, there are also new therapies just coming. So there are similarities on this respect. And that's that kind of things we would like to discuss and develop solutions within our project. In Ascertain, we would like to develop new pricing models. So what's a fair price? But also cost effectiveness and value assessments, budget impact models. Just also models would like that are more cyclic for reimbursement, because maybe for some countries, pay upfront is fine, but just with having a discount. But maybe for other countries, it's more feasible to pay for performance. But then you need other administrative procedures and so on. But it's all that we are gonna calculate in our project, and we'll develop an online support policy making tool. It will be open access and adaptable for countries. And we hope after email registration that we have for more countries already these kind of models available, so that the payers can use it already just earlier instead of waiting a couple of years before just a pharmaceutical company is submitting a dossier in your country. We're just now in the phase of scoping reviews of collecting data, of getting input from advisory boards. Here there are some advisory board members also already. We have all stakeholders. They are ready to participate in Ascertain. In the beginning next year there will be the first test cases, and then we are very happy to look from how will be the user evaluation and how can we adapt the models. That's really also useful for everyone. It's a consortium with 9 partners. Here are Erasmus, but also GUT, Oostenrijk, the University of Oslo, the Myelo Patient Europe. Kate Morgan is here as well. She's one of the leaders of one of the workshops later. And Robin, I don't see you, but you are there. Yes, sorry, I'm not. Robin from the European Hematoxicology, they are also partners. AIM, that are from the health insurers, but we also have partners for developing the dissemination communication, developing videos for the data management and so on, because it's also very relevant. I don't know, do I have time still for this video? Yes. Because one of the partners developed, Optimatus in Germany, developed this video, and maybe it's nice just to have an overview of 3 minutes of the project, just to summarize everything. Many countries in the European Union struggle to approve new health technologies, such as medicines and medical devices, leading to inequalities in access. Depending on where a patient lives, it takes an average of more than a year to get the treatment they need. This is often due to issues around pricing, affordability and differences in the value assessment, and that's where Ascertain comes into play. Ascertain is an EU-funded project that started in 2022, and it stands for affordability and sustainability improvements through new pricing, cost effectiveness and reimbursement models to appraise innovative health technologies. It is a project with a big name and an important mission. Let's dive in and learn more. With our project, we want to explore ways and methods of making health technologies more affordable and accessible for different stakeholders, whilst at the same time encouraging and rewarding innovation. We also believe in considering the environmental impact of health technologies. If the health sector were a country, it will be the 5th largest emitter on the planet after China, the USA, India and Russia. We want to identify and promote greener production methods. Make sure that the entire life cycle of a health technology is considered. So how do we achieve these goals? Ascertain is developing a special tool called the Access to Meds Policy Support Tool. This tool will be online and available to anyone.
It provides models and tools on pricing, cost effectiveness and reimbursement that consider country-specific conditions and help decision makers to understand how much technology should cost and how they can make them accessible to their population. The ESHPM project is more than about creating the tool. We want to make sure it meets the needs of patients, industry, policymakers and payers. That's why we are working together with a diverse group of partners and an international advisory board. ESHPM believes in transparency and open access. And that's why all the tools and models we develop will be hosted on a publicly accessible platform following open science principles. This way, many can benefit from the knowledge and information we provide, and it's important to understand the needs of all stakeholders. Let's find out.
As a patient, I need my treatment as fast as possible. I don't want my condition to get any worse.
As a doctor, I want to give patients the best healthcare option that exists.
As a payer, I have to consider the budgets and reimbursement as well.
As an industry member, I need to define a price that gives sufficient return of investments.
As a researcher, I need access to data, and therefore open access tools are of great value for my work.
With ESHPM, we can create a more affordable and accessible healthcare system by considering the environmental impact of health technologies' entire life cycle. Stay tuned for more updates on our journey.
So that's it. I don't know whether it's time for questions or to you maybe.
We have a little bit of time, so we can have the questions, but we do have the panel discussion at the end also. If there's any pressing questions, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Patrick Tilleul, a pharmacist in Paris and a professor in the university. I have one question regarding the definition of threshold value of acceptance in different countries. Do you brainstorm about that and define a different level of acceptance? Or
It's one of our tasks as well to define thresholds in several countries. So we will perform good choice experiments in I think 6 to 8 countries and also in Eastern European countries. Yes.
You said the project ESHPM started in 2022. Could you disclose some of the current finding direction?
At the moment, we are just more collecting data, scoping reviews on also the willingness to pay thresholds about access, but also pricing policies, global models. For example, I have seen a very nice global model, but only for some blood safety. So there we are just collecting data and also ask input from board members. In Madrid, there's the European the European Hematology Association having a congress in Madrid in June. So there we will meet again, and then there will be real steps, because then we will just have more insight what we need in the models, what kind of parameters we need to take into account, and so on.
Thank you.
Lots of questions.
I was curious to understand how you take account of the infrastructure limitations that you might have from many countries. You talked a lot about disparities, and we saw the great map that you have there. And so the number of beds per hospital, doctors,
we don't look at the number of beds of that kind of things, actually. Yes. It's more also related to health system. Mm-hmm. But maybe that's also an reason of difficulty in implementing. Mm-hmm. So that could also be one of outcomes and whether to solve. For example, for CAR-T, maybe it's easier just to transport patients to a facility in another country than just to start a whole facility in a certain country. That's possible now.
Is this project intending to provide cost-effectiveness models product by product, or just general framework? So
no, actually we would product per product, so for the 3 use cases. But we are now looking also that the coding, for example, we will everything code in programmed in R. But the coding, that's a bit the same, so that's easy to translate it also for other projects as well.
Okay, thank you.
That you have to find out the wheel again and again.
Thank you.
Michael Bernke from EMA. Just a question. Thanks for sharing the project and giving some insights. In your data set, to what extent are you considering also the clinical data, strength of evidence,
Sure,
strength of evidence
that's one of the
generated
challenges, one of the
activities and
main
posters and
challenges.
things? So what is part of your data set?
Yeah, for example, use case one will especially deal also with single arm trials, and also CAR T cells actually, because most evidence is on this. So that's one of the challenges as well. And we collaborate, for example, for CAR T cell with 2 to Evolve projects. That's also about CAR T. So we will use the data, the clinical data also for our studies. And the same also holds for the personal medicine, because in Norway there are also some EMI projects, and we will also make use of that data as well. So we are also partner for data safety and data management and so on, because data is very also for the privacy and the AVT and so on. It's very
And also then the data that's yet to be generated, which is agreed or
the
expected.
models we now developed are, for example, CAR T, we just start with the third line, and there's of course now evidence for a second line, but that's the next step. So the models we developed for January for the test cases will be on existing data, and then later we will just develop it more for earlier stages and so on. Yeah, because then it's easier. Not do one step at one time and not do everything together.